Port-Harcourt. But before that, let me just give you a few bits of information from the World Health Organization. Now, they have recently released a number of statistics on air pollution. Every year, air pollution is responsible for 2.2 million deaths from stroke. Air pollution kills 2 million people from heart disease every single year. It causes 1.7 million deaths from lung disease and cancer. Air pollution threatens our health. Over 80% of the world's cities have pollution levels exceeding the WHO's guidelines for safe air. Air pollution caused 1 in 9 deaths. It is the biggest environmental health crisis we face. Now, Port-Harcourt has been in the midst of what many would say is an air pollution crisis for well over a year now. And with the recent burn of the refuse at Olusosun. My Yoruba teachers are here. With the burn of refuse at the Olusosun Dumpsite, many around the Ojota Ikeja area have also found themselves being in harmful air. So this morning we want to talk about this and find out what exactly are the effects of some of these things that we are breathing in. How do we take a handle on it? What is the next step to do? So first we'll make contact with our head of news in Port-Harcourt, Chioma Wafor, who'll give us an update on the situation there. Our news station, Nigeria Info Port-Harcourt, has been at the vanguard of leading the campaign to stop the soot in Port-Harcourt. If you're on social media, you'll know the hashtag which stop the soot, and you'll see pictures trending. Good morning, Chioma. How are you? Hello, Chioma. Good morning.
Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, Chioma, good morning to you. How are you this morning?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. All right, so we were just giving Lagos a bit of a background about the Stop the Soot campaign. And we know Nigeria Info in Port-Harcourt has been at the forefront of this campaign. We've seen the OAPs on social media. We know many of the shows that some of the OAPs have been dedicated to this particular issue that the city of Port-Harcourt has been facing. So can we first start off with the genesis of the problem? Now, I got to know about it through our OAPs on social media. A lot of people say that this has been an issue off and on, but let's say in the past, just about the past 2 years, it has become almost a daily issue in Port-Harcourt and its environment. So when did this really begin to this level we're seeing it now?
Yes, it actually is correct. It started 2 years ago in 2016. Around this time, 2016, Port-Harcourt experiencing the black soot, black particles. You wake up in the morning, black particles are all over surface. Any surface you can sight, top of cars and clothes, and even handshakes became a problem because you look at your palm and it's all black, and your feet, and whereas if you're going on in your house, it's all black, and that went on and on and on. And then when Nigeria started the campaign, that was what led to the River State government, which was silent on the issue almost throughout the month of the year of 2016. I think till in November, that was when a task force was up, because experts that we were talking to, Nigeria Info, kept on making reference to companies, oil companies in Port-Harcourt, and illegal refining was also listed as one of the factors affecting it. So, the discussions expand and drew the attention of the government to set up a task force to look out for companies that were carrying out activities that may be contributing to that situation. And a couple of, I think 3 companies were shut down at the time in 2016, and then this investigation was going to begin to understand exactly the content of the suit. That investigation, the outcome till 2018, we are yet to hear anything about that particular investigation. But we know that they also mopped up tires and from the streets, telling no burning of tires and all that. But apart from that, no counting has been done by the River State government. What we've seen here is residents going out on their own to take care of themselves. I hear people that are buying air purifiers and even having what I came to learn to be devices that can show the air quality of their environment. Yes. And they use the data to know what and how to do them. And what I also learned is that what we understand also is that it's usually work in the early hours of the morning, and when you come out very early, it's quite dark. Even around 7:30, it's still very and the cloud is like black clouds all over. If you're driving through, they're also foggy actually. Usually covered with fog as you're moving. It has been on all through 2017 as well. And then there was this time it got really worse. That was during the raining season. You know, the rainwater itself is actually black.
I was going to ask, because we heard that Port-Harcourt had actually experienced black rain.
Yes, that's correct. we when you ask experts, they have very little information as to the exact of it. Just several activities, you know. But the question has been for them, if we've always had oil companies in Port-Harcourt,
yes,
if we've always had people driving bad cars and generators not working properly, we are still not satisfied with what the experts here are telling us. And that question is still out there, and the investigation from the government was still awaiting it. And the last time we heard the commissioner talk in public on the issue of the Soot, what she said was that they were going to give out air quality index. But what they want us to do with that index as a government, we are not sure of it yet.
Now, are some who say that some of the legal refineries in Port-Harcourt are to be there? Those who say that because the army sometimes blows up or burns some of these the micro refineries, the illegal ones that are set up, that's contributing to it as well. So right now, and as you said, it is Port-Harcourt is in the environs of these things. It's something, burning of these things has happened for many years, but it has never been a situation like this. So as of right now, there's no number 1, 2, or 3 specific causes being blamed for it or identified for it.
Yes, it's been here or there. No one has been able to say, okay, this is exactly what's causing it. It is this, it is that. And you know, they've also listed they have a factors actually, and top of which is illegal refining, and that is where most people believe that is causing the situation and worsening it, not just the other activities of flaring by oil companies, as they say. And another thing is that the issue of this Soot, when we talk about it, at a point it was even nearly politicized, and that nearly took out the whole effect of it, from center state. But so far, when you talk to people about it, they'll tell you, yes, we're trying to live this, avoid, we have experts telling you to avoid out and, leave your food open, leave your food in the open, and all of that. But we still believe that the situation can only be taken care of from an all-encompassing situation, not just what it's doing, based on what we've seen here.
Okay. A quick one. Have you noticed, or do you know if we have a very obvious cases of the health facilities in Port-Harcourt really getting overburdened by cases of people affected by the black soot? I mean, do you think we have cases on a daily or very weekly basis, exactly, of people who actually flood hospitals on when they're being affected? Okay,
when we reached out to doctors in federal hospitals, when they were being careful to actually say that the reason why there may be high cases of respiratory tract infections could be attributed to Soot. They were all being careful in not attributing it to the Soot. But yes, they admitted that we've had more cases of respiratory-related infections and respiratory kind of infections cases. They admitted that we've had there's a high rate of such situations, but they refuse to connect it.
Okay, to connect it.
Yes. Would you know why they? I mean, it becomes it's an odd situation. Would you know why they're trying?
We believe it's still about the political situation. No one wants no one wants to be termed the reason why people are because it said you're demarketing the state when you are talking about the Soot in election.
Interesting.
That's always the situation, where you say, you're marketing River State. You're the market River State.
Yeah.
And so you see, even the health experts are very careful. They're giving you even to interview them, you have to be the one to, connect it and just leave them out of it. Let them just tell you, all you want to talk about the implications of continuing to expose yourself in the manner that you do, but they wouldn't want to tell you that what is going on right now in the hospitals, for instance, is because of the Soot. Don't want to be quoted or called out to be that they are the ones that said such things.
Now, in recent times, we've also heard the state governor, Nyesom Wike, also lay a bit of the blame on the lap of the federal government. You said, of course, that he did action towards a few companies were closed down. Beyond that, and away from what River State has been doing, what has the government done in this regard? Have you heard of inspections? The federal government made any statements from their end of things? Because this is a massive health situation experienced in one of the in one of the country's cosmopolitan cities.
Yes, I remember the Soot started while Amina Mohammed was the Minister of Environment.
Yes.
Her visit to River State was never connected to the Soot. It was basically about the Ogoni cleanup. And we always try to use, during the campaign, Nigerian Info really hard on it, we always try to use that opportunity to see if that conversation can come up and then the issue of the Soot come up. But she was never really interested in it. Now that she's no longer there, the Ministry of Environment, despite several tweets that have been tweeted at them, and like you said, OAP is tweeting, a whole lot of tweets tweeted at the Ministry of Environment, no response whatsoever, nothing from what we know, nothing from the government so far as regards to tackling the issue of the Soot.
Let me also ask: has the state government issued any advisories? Every time China, they have smog issues, and there are times when the government actually issue advisories for specific cities, telling to keep children and older people indoors, telling people not to be outside, even handing out these not gas masks, but these nose masks, yes, to the people to help them sort of filter. Were there any health advisories officially issued from the state government in regard to the Soot situation in Port-Harcourt?
Okay, none that I know of, but I do know that in 2016, hotlines were giving out numbers that you can call to give information on the areas that are working, because there are areas in Port-Harcourt that are working. You know, not all areas are really affected by the Soot. They feel the impact, but not compared to people that is just black. Like theirs is black, like everything is black. Those areas, the hotlines were given out at the time for them to be able to locate the areas and then know how to go about the investigation. That was in 2016. But as of 2018, no, there's been nothing like that. There's been none that I know of having. But we here on Nigerian Info, we've been having experts talk to us on how to manage our food, how to manage the health, and they've been giving us information on air. Tell people, okay, try not to drink raw gari, for instance. Your fruit, you now have to wash your fruit now before you eat it, and precautionary measures like that. But nothing from the state government.
I've seen pictures of swimming pools with black spot floating on them. People showing their own feet when they're walking in their own homes. I remember a guy, I think about 2 weeks ago, he washed the filters for his AC, put them down, then showed what the filters look like 4 days later. What's one or two worst ones you've seen so far as we wrap up, Choma?
Oh, I think our complex here on Nigerian Info, one of them is waking up and then coming, and most of the cars are just black. That's apart from the videos like one of the videos you just mentioned, we usually have people say, okay, send us your videos of your experience of the Soot and all of that. And apart from those ones, they're really popular online. The ones I have seen up front is coming to work and all the cars are just black. Like, you can't lean on the cars. That's like the worst.
Yeah, but do you also think that there is a daily live impact? I mean, the daily activities in Port-Harcourt. Do you have a case of parents telling children, because of this you can't go to school, or some people just don't go up at work, or people go to the market to sell because of this condition?
The daily activities that go on there, even some people that don't know why the black particles are there. I've been to the market before, and when they're talking, the awareness not there that what you're breathing or the particles you're seeing all over are dangerous to your health. It's not saturated as much yet. People know about it, people talk about it, but the consciousness of the fact that this is dangerous is not there yet. Even though they know that they're seeing it, but the urgency of what it should, hasn't really been seen. There hasn't really been in Port-Harcourt. And I believe if the government hasn't been involved much in trying to educate the people to that extent. So we haven't seen parents getting really worried, like completely about it, apart from the individual precautionary measures that people make. And when we talk to them, they tell you what they've done on their own, but there's no the general panic. There's panic, to say, on the situation. But although we know that a couple of people have together to protest, and let the protest to the government house, that situation. But apart from that, nothing really as regards to everyday life. Everyday life normal. People just take their individual measures to protect themselves. But panic totally.
All right, Chioma, thank you so much for your time. And again, just for the Nigerian family and everything, keeping up the campaign for Stop the Soot. Thank you so much for what you're doing, and we'll continue to check in with you as there may be more developments on the campaign.
Thank you very much. We're trying.
All right, Chioma, have a great day. Okay, Gus, so again, as we said, we have a conversation linking to environmental issues. Environmental issues. Port-Harcourt has been under Stop the Soot situation for about 2 years now. Black rain did come down in Port-Harcourt, and this past week having a situation with the dump sites in Ojota, and many people concerned with what Nigerians may be inhaling, taking in, and unconsciously or inadvertently also taking in through their food and the clothes you wear, and all the exposure to these things. Now, also joining us in the studio, we have Belinda Osayemwen. She is the business development manager for Hinckley Recycling, and she's here representing the Hinckley Recycling Company. And we had reached out to them because, of course, if you remember, we had them in the studio a few weeks back talking about issues concerning recycling and the dumping of electronic waste and things into Nigeria. Now, the dump sites in Olusosun. You guys have made me so super conscious of saying the word now. Dump sites in Ojota that recently burning, and some people say up to now still particularly burning, has been giving off fumes. And there's a lot of concern with some of the kind of waste that could be burning there. What are we looking at in terms of what kind of waste could be burnt and released into the kind of gases and things released into the atmosphere that we're finding in the Ojota situation?
Okay, and thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
All right then. Okay, so I particularly passed that road that day when the fire.
The initial one, yeah.
Yeah, it's about a week now. Yesterday was a week yesterday.
Okay.
I was coming back from work actually, and the smoke was really, really thick and black. I would say that particular day when the smoke was black, some of the kind of waste that you had there, you would have had electronic waste in there, and that's what made the smoke that black. What you have now is kind of like a white smoke now, even a week later, and that's because of moisture that's in the dump site there, as water from probably the waste and from the soil as well. But that particular day when it was black, you definitely had electric waste in addition to general solid waste, refuse, and municipal waste.
Now, and that a lot of people say dump sites like this, you end up seeing a lot of minor fires, that sometimes fires can be burning under the heaps and you won't really know. There are small spots of fires left and right. But this kind of blaze that we saw, do we have an idea whether it was intentional or something that sparked on its own, like can actually happen?
Okay, so at dump site, you have intentional fires. That's to burn off the refuse, because you cannot just have solid waste or waste accumulating and growing bigger and bigger. I mean, that's why it's a kind of like a landfill or a dump site, for you to burn and reduce size and kind of
make space.
Make space for more.
Yeah.
Yes, and also because you have that kind of waste, because not all the waste are biodegradable.
Yes.
So you just have them stuck in there and they're compiling. So make space to avert some health issues as well.
Okay. All right. Let's look at. Let's quickly take a look at the part we expect government to actually play. As a matter of fact, I realized that Nigerian Info 99.3 News Talk and Sport Station, I mean, we have done a very, very fantastic job on this particular issue, and I'll tell you why. Okay. We mentioned it, not too long after you visited the studio, that government hadn't come out to say anything about it happening at Olusosun in Ojota. 2 days after we discussed it in studio, I mean, the Lagos State government came out really very strong to say people shall go out with nose mask, and protect yourself and do that. And some officials actually went to the right and they were protected, with the governor. And so we keep really talking, about it. Now, my concern is that, do you think we have enough education on how to really, people protecting themselves, especially when we have situations like this?
I can say compared to 10 years ago or 5 years ago, there's a little awareness the public has. Very little though, but it's appreciable compared to way back. People are not really aware of the health hazards and the effect of burning even if it's just general burn. Talk more
even in
of
your own compound, your street.
your compound on
because
your
there's a bus stop by just
in
by
fact,
the
it's
and people
a
stand
full
there too.
neighborhood. It's a neighborhood. I read on the news today that government is telling the residents to relocate.
Exactly.
And I don't know how that would play out for people who already have their houses built to now relocate to several other sites. Talking about the residents, you also talk about the guys that work in the dump sites, more like the scavengers, scrap dealers, truck pullers that make a living from dump sites. I do not know if they were in there when the fire started, or but all I know is that the dump site has been closed, and guys who make a livelihood from that dump site are, I don't know, they're to be, or they've been told to move on to other dump sites in Ekpe or Badag and places like that. So for the government, I really don't know. You see news day in, day out, people going to the dump site and giving them nose mask and PPE materials. 'Cause these guys,
what did you call it?
Nose mask and PPE materials. That's like physical protective.
So you know terminology.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Protective equipment. That to protect them from the actual work they are doing in there. Because most of them, when we say it's like their livelihood, what they're actually doing is trying to recover value from the waste materials in
copper wires,
copper wires, PCB. So they undergo like crude recycling methods in there. And even we as Hinckley, in trying to make so much awareness and sensitization of the effects of the health hazards of e-waste recycling, because that's our bit, e-waste recycling, to the public. We've had to have like a training about 2-3 weeks ago, pick some guys from the dump sites, some guys from Computer Age. They have an association, what's it called, an association of vendors of used and allied materials, basically. So maybe computers, general e-waste electronics. And then we had to train them on the proper recycling methods, best recycling methods, and all give them this PPE equipment. But I mean, there's just little that we as a firm can do in terms of generating this awareness. But we are keen on generating the awareness, because even we as a recycling firm cannot function if these guys are not brought in line.
I know you have I think you have a small plant in the vicinity of the dump site.
Yes, we do. It's pretty close to the dump site, not too close, but it's on the same axis.
Okay. So if you remember, around 4 p.m. on Wednesday evening, they say it's a flare, according to what we have on the ground, that a flare on the dump site now quickly spiraled out of control. Now the Lagos State government has closed the dump site, but that also said going to turn it into a mega park and repurpose it for use. Before we get into the potential of repurposing it, what would you advise citizens and residents who live in that area? A lot of people will say their windows going to stay closed and it's hot and the light has not been exactly very good right now. But in terms of protecting their families and themselves, what would you quickly advise?
Well, if you ask me, I'd say them, if they have somewhere to go to, if they really have somewhere to go to, I think they should make that move, because
to permanently move or just go until the smoke dissipates.
I believe they've shut it down, and they've shut it down for good.
Okay.
I don't think that that dump site is going to reopen for common use
very
anymore.
long time.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to recover from that kind of burning, because I think that burning, it went out of control that particular day. And to avert such, I mean, you can't control how fire spreads. So I think it's shut down for good. So I would say they relocate for the meantime. I mean, it's just for that smoke. I don't know how long it's going to take now, because it's been a week and there's still that white
smoke coming out
still there. So for the meantime, they relocate because of the emissions from that smoke.
All right, so we have one of our colleagues joining us, Emmanuel, and he lives in the vicinity of the area. And I just want you to, just take us through. Not everybody lives there, and there are, of course, a few people who did and who shared their experiences. And it actually looked like the apocalypse. When I saw some of the pictures, it looked like Lagos had been hit like some kind of bomb, and all you just saw was pieces of things floating, and it was dark. It reminds me of being in a tornado. But what was like when you were going home and you saw it, you ran into it, you think it was the rapture, and everybody had gone but you, right?
Well, not exactly, because I mean it's not the first time this is happening. Even though this is more like from a different dimension. I don't stay very close to that part. I pass through, to my house. Incidentally, the other side of Olusosun is where my church is. So from time to time, we see the smoke come when they burn things. But of course, the smoke last was just out, of the ordinary. I was wondering, I saw everywhere smoky. Like you said, I was wondering what's happening. The first thing that came to my mind was, imagine babies in this environment. Imagine people with epilepsy in this environment. Imagine people with asthma environment. And I was thinking, so what's this? Then of course, to the other side of K2, I saw a large inferno. I was thinking it's a house burning or something. Before I was told that it was actually the Olusosun. So apparently, they've been burning this from time to time. But of course, what happened from what we've read and from what we saw was that over time, gas, underneath the refuse, has gathered and everything. And this simple combustion thing, and of course, there was so it was a time bomb waiting to happen. Yeah, but of course, it's amazing how people in that vicinity who are very close to that area have been able to survive this past days. I mean, yesterday I still passed through. I had to put on my handkerchief on my nose like a mask to pass through. It was that bad. I was at the shopping mall on Sunday. Inside the mall was like being inside the dump site, literally. Everywhere was full of smoke. And the funny is that I stay at Koshofe just after Kate. My estate is toward Koshofe, just behind Mago. There's just like a stream that demarcates the place. And as far as Koshofe bus stop, down up until the streets that link to my estate, the smoke was getting there. As a matter of fact, on Saturday, the smoke was actually to my estate. We had to close the window. But of course, it was fair. So I can imagine if it could travel that long, about those who stay in that particular environment. It was crazy. Up onto the local government, close to
I mean, church is just
I mean, it's a disaster. I mean, even yesterday, even this morning, it's still the same thing. But I'm wondering, if you have asked people to relocate, how do they relocate? If you have 5 children and a wife, where do you take them to Tolu? Will I bring my 2 kids to your house to come and as a burden on you? How would I do it? That's not practical.
Government is not making a facility available.
Practical.
You are advising people relocate, leave the dignity to go to where? I mean, if you're going to give such a advice, I mean, you would have probably put in place something that is relieving.
I mean, a temporary camp or something where people can go.
But Linda, let me ask, because he talks about the fact the collection of gases, and as we said, dump sites all over the world, fires can start, combustion happens and everything. Is there any way, having this kind of dump site, to prevent those kind of fires?
Burning, let me talk about the bit I know, electronic waste. Burning electronic materials in open air burning or incineration emits gases. You have hazardous fractions that are inside this electronic waste that should not even be handled in open air, that shouldn't be handled with bare hands. But you see the guys in the dump sites, this is what they do to recover value from
They could also even be responsible for some of these fires happening.
Because after informally recycling electronics, every or dioxin leaks into the soil. So you have lead that has leaked into the soil. You have mercury that has leaked into that dump site, the soil. And so the gases plus the metals, I mean, just he said it's just a time bomb that just went off that day. You have these hazardous fractions. You have the plastics that are there. They are not ordinary plastics. Although you have PET plastics, you have plastics from electronics that have bromine in them. They're called BFR, brominated flame retardants. And those plastics are supposed to keep the electronics, maybe they heat up a little, supposed to keep them from not getting hot, going
and combusting.
So then you have those kind of plastics in a dump site where you are burning day in day. So it's just what happened there. It's not science. Yeah, it's just accumulation of all these kind of plastics.
Exactly, PET bottles.
Yes, PET bottles, and even on their own. Although after burning, they emit gases. But you have the brominated flame retardants from electronics. Those plastics from electronics that are really, really hazardous. That combusting would lead to something like we saw last week Wednesday.
All right, let me quickly ask you, Emmanuel, before we take a break. When it came to your side, and probably as well, since I'm interviewing you now too, what precautions did you take for your family when you saw what the smoke look like? Even though people were in the mall, I'm sure people actually ran out of the mall eventually, but what precautions did you take for your family when this situation happened?
Of course, we had to shut the windows.
It's hot and there's no light.
We have to put it in Tolu.
The heat is better than breathing in those gases.
Yes, really.
I mean, because it will affect your lungs, it will affect your liver, it will affect your respiratory system.
On a good day, sorry to cut you short, on a day, even when my neighbors put on their generator and the fumes is coming in, I had to close my window. I mean, because I can't take that risk for my family. You understand? So just imagine the effects as far as I stay, than people who are staying close to that. And I think there are even different sides of this discourse that we're not even seeing. She mentioned accumulation of lead, underneath.
Leaching into
Don't forget
the soil.
that in this part of our country, our world, you provide water for yourself. There is no pipe-borne water. Imagine people with boreholes around that area. there must have been some element of lead leakage into the holes, health hazards. In the first place, why should a dump site of that size be in the center of town? It is not supposed to be. Apparently, a time development had caught up with it. I've done this a long time ago to have moved dump site from that place. It's a big hazard that must not remain there anymore.
All right, let's take a quick break. But for information, Olusosun became active about 1992 and apparently has a lifespan of about 20 years. And it should have been commissioned a long time ago. And you would think dump sites can just live forever. They can't. You have to commission. You have to decommission them, move to somewhere else, find a way to make sure that that one there is in all of that. But beyond that, what are the health implications? So when we come back from this quick break, we'll be talking to Bolaji Akerele, who is a public health practitioner. And of course, we'll give you more information from the World Health Organization on issues concerning pollution. Stay with us.
Hi guys, my name is Tolu Adermalogun. I currently host Morning Crossfire. I'm here to tell you that you have to get your PVC. Your permanent voter's card is your power, and in your hand you hold the power to make any necessary change that you want in Nigeria. Please participate, because elections are not the end of democracy and governance. The highest office in the land is the office of citizen. You and I are citizens of Nigeria. Get your PVC. Your PVC, your voice.
Reach out. Be informed. Stay connected to the world. Be ahead. Go for the original story. Go for 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Nigeria, I'm listening. Real stories, real people. Be the first to speak.
It's Nigeria Info.
99.3.
Trending news, newspaper reviews, sports and analysis on current and rising issues. The Breakfast News Digest, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
It is still, of course, the Breakfast News Digest on 99.3 Nigeria Info. And we're basically having a conversation about air pollution using two environmental situations that have been happening in Nigeria. One, of course, involves Port-Harcourt and the Soot situation that Port-Harcourt finds themselves facing. The other is involving the dump sites here in Ojota. Good morning. Do we have Dr. Bolaji Akerele on the phone line?
Yes, fine.
Oh, fantastic. All right, Lagos, this is Dr. Bolaji Akele. He's a consultant public health physician and CEO of Bilwu Clinic in Ejigbo, Lagos. Dr. Bolaji, thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, so we earlier spoke to our colleague in Port-Harcourt, and she gave us a little bit of background about the soot that Port-Harcourt residents have been finding themselves facing. Then we also linked that to the conversation concerning the Olusosun Dumpsite here in Ojota. I also know that the World Health Organization has really been talking about air pollution as well, being an invisible killer, and talking about how many million people die every year due to issues concerning air pollution. Let me start off with first, do we even have numbers? Do we follow up on situations like air pollution and link our deaths to certain things like maybe what's happened in Port-Harcourt and what possibly is happening here in Ojota as well?
Well, as far as limited is concerned, the Ministry of Health has a section, and there is a toll-free number that one can report for any problems relating to health or even generally and call. We have people who are in charge of such things in Lagos State. But does it work? Are people aware? Is the level of education, both education and public education, is it enough for them? So we need to do more to people aware of where to report to whenever they observe any change in the environment, anything that can cause ill health. They need to know where to report to.
So what is the...
We do have something in that is set up to address such issues, and also at the federal level.
Okay, so now let's talk about what is possibly happening in Port-Harcourt and Lagos. What are the health implications of residents taking in air that is probably contaminated with burnt waste and maybe what would I say, ashes from refineries, as well as breathing in some of the things from the dump sites that was burning as well? What health implications are we looking at for the police?
Good. The first health implication has to do with our breathing, respiratory tract infections, and anything that will affect breathing. When you have smoke, fog, smog, things that are polluting the air, the first organ that is targeted is our respiratory organs, the lungs, the windpipes, and then also we can also have heart problems from the pollution, air pollution. And not to talk, and also we also have some cancer-related, conditions which come with it. I know there are millions of died due to direct and indirect causes of air pollution. It's worse even in children. Children may develop pneumonia, pneumonitis, even asthma. Those who of them had asthma before, whether children or not, it can exacerbate it and bring it on again, and it can become worse. Hello?
Yes, we're here with you.
Okay.
All right.
It will not achieve, causes of effects that come with, and then even on the environment itself, you can, when you have a smoke, we have air that polluted, especially with smoke, like the Olusosun experience, you find out that there is decreased capacity there of sight, because people who are driving through a smoggy environment, the sight, can't see well, and can result in accidents.
Okay.
And even if there is too much of smoke in the air, it can affect the brain, the brain function. Okay?
All right. Now, what are precautionary measures you would recommend as a expert that people should look out for to be in case they are affected? That the moment you probably start feeling this way or experiencing something like this, you should, immediately go to the hospital.
Well, first thing is self-preservation. Try and leave that environment as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Even if you have already contracted any of the effects, then the next thing is to go hospital. You may need to be oxygen. You may need to be detoxified. Maybe placed on drips, oxygen. Even those who have developed asthma, they can go under nebulizer so that quickly they can get this stuff off them. But over and above all, try and get away from the source. And also, the people in charge of where the smoke is emanating, where the air pollution is happening, they should try and control the smoke to reduce it to the barest minimum. because the longer it's occurring, the worse for those who are working inside and those who are living nearby.
Now, in case you're unable to relocate, as we talked about, some people will not have anywhere to go. They may not even have money to be able to affect relocation from these. Is there anything that can be done to mitigate the effects of this, of the pollution getting to them, or particularly to their children? A lot of people are concerned with their children inhaling these fumes.
Well, the only one can do once it happens is to evacuate people. But even if the government or in charge is not even doing that, human beings, we should love each other. We can help to take them away that side. Because so long as you're on that side or you are close by, the effect will continue to affect people. And it's cumulative. The more it gets into the system, the worse the effects. So it's better to get at that's the first thing. If people can begin forces on the spot or near the place, but get them to away from that spot until normalcy is returned, until good air is available to breathe.
All right, I was trying to say that what are first aid measures? Perhaps you know someone who has been affected and you're close by, or somebody that you are with gets affected. What are immediate, first aid measures to take before getting the person into the hospital?
Well, the first aid you can give is because if somebody is not breathing well, you can do resuscitation. But what's the most important? The first aid is to get place from the contact. Avoid contact with that. That's the very first one. So long as you are still there, you cannot be safe. But what you do, because if we don't carry oxygen bags around, you are exposed to fresh air. That's why you see the person has to leave that environment to get fresh air. Because people may plan another ones who are not as But in fact, by the time the person who is affected is being forced to drink water, we can even lead to pneumonitis and cause other things. So the thing is to get fresh air and remove the person from that immediately. That's number one step. And because at hospital, they know what to do, whether the injections, whether the oxygen, they will continue to do that. But immediately that just get the person out and to away to a safe place. Normally it cannot take the whole area, or the smoke or spot cannot take the whole Lagos State. Maybe a distance, at most maybe 50 meters or meters, that kind of stuff. But it is far away as much as possible. And that is like when you are the person is away, that can give the food, but the ultimate is to get the person to the hospital, so the person will be looked at properly.
Now, let me also ask: do you advise that governments issue advisories in the days after this happened? Wednesday, there was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. There's still smoke coming out now. Would you have expected the state government to order schools in that area closed, maybe shops closed, well, religious bodies? What would you advise? What would you have expected government advise the populace in response to this kind of situation?
Well, it is duty of the government to monitor the environment. Where there is this kind of disaster, this kind of smoke, air pollution, they should issue one to people. They come to the aid of the people, assist them, get them off that area, resettle them. I mean, there have been when we have disasters in Lagos, small disasters, and people were settled in camps temporarily set up. But I know this is an emergency, but we need to move in with times and ensure that lives are protected. Let's say, because what we are talking about can lead to death if not properly. So the best thing is to let it come in. Even if you look, it's a process that is happening due to the activities of government. Because let alone as it is there, the waste itself on its own generates some gases, harmful gases, like methane. And some of gases, even carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, all sorts of harmful gases are generated from the waste dump site. And not to go and put fire in it, whether it happened naturally or it happened by man, or it was caused by man, it's irresponsible for man to put fire on it, whatever way it happened. But the best thing is to evacuate people, give advisories, make sure that people are kept away from such areas.
All right. Thanks so much for your time, Dr. Bolaji. We're heading towards the 9 o'clock hour, which means we'll bring things up. But we do appreciate you sharing some of your expertise with us.
Thank you very much, Jimmy.
All right, thank you. Now, I do want to end with Belinda and Emmanuel in this. So we've heard what he said. And for emphasis, WHO is doing an international campaign on air pollution. And again, 2 million deaths due to heart disease linked to air pollution every single year. 3 million deaths every year as a result of exposure to ambient, that is outdoor air pollution. 4.3 million deaths every year as a result of household exposure to smoke from dirty cook stoves and fuels, Nigeria. 92% of the world's population lives in places where air quality exceeds WHO guideline limits. And at the end of the day, a lot of this happens in developing countries like our own. And you have regulatory agencies that are meant to check some of these things. And you find that they're either ineffective, don't have the capacity, or simply really don't understand what their jobs are. Emmanuel, as a resident of Lagos, someone who in a way has found this affected by this, how would you expect the state government to handle this situation and going forward as well?
Now, I think basically, we need to learn from experiences. It's all we don't have disaster management plans in place. So going forward, I think these are the things we need to put in place. Then secondly, I think the government has not enticed enough with the people. Rather, they've even shown some brutality. I mean, not confirmed information though, but I learned there's been some journalists who were harassed for going to cover the event.
No, confirmed. Okay. You can confirm. I can confirm that.
All right. So basically, that's very unfair. I mean, this is something the world already knows. So what are you trying to hide? So I think the government has not shown enough sensitivity to people's plight. I mean, they should have shown some more empathy, given the fact that there may be some restrictions on their own part on what to do, but at least they should have some form of empathy to even show that value, for human life. So I think the government needs to be more responsive and also learn from these, because I'm thinking, should it be a way to put up the fire at least, so you can reduce the smoke? I mean, shouldn't there be a way to bring in some volume of water and just, I don't know. He's
going to answer that question. Belinda, because there have been some saying, oh, this is the kind of fire you can't use water on it. What would have been the emergency ways possible, especially given the fact that there's a lot of electronic waste on ground there that the government could have found to either rapidly put out the fire or reduce the smoke? Is there even anything? Very quickly, we're wrapping.
Well, I'm not aware of any effect that the government could have used to put out the fire. That's why they've critically said that the people should relocate. Probably what they should have done is provide a site or a settlement area where they would have been located to. But from previous missions and works with LASEPA and even the Ministry of Environment, I am aware they've been trying to close down the Olusosun Dumpsite. And so this even came off from a negative point of view. It would be a way for them to
finally affect the closure.
Yeah, finally affect that closure. And also for them to implement waste management or waste recycling methods to form recycle e-waste, separate the e-waste stream, remove hazardous waste materials, and do not put all your e-waste in a dump site. Do not make a dump site close to a neighborhood environment and all that. So one way to go about it as well, even though it's a negative effect.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you to Chioma from our Port-Harcourt station, to Dolaji Akerele on the phone. Thank you to Belinda from Hinckley, and also as well, thank you to Emmanuel for joining us on the conversation today. We will keep you up to date and, of course, plugged into all the developments on this, as well as the Stop the Soot campaign in Port-Harcourt. This is how we wrap things up. Next is the Money, Business and Economy show, but right before that, you have the headline news. Stay with us.
You are tuned in to 99.3 Nigeria Info.
Headline news.